Hello, my name is Steve and welcome to another Fantasy Premier League video. It's the penultimate day before the 22-23 season kicks off, and so it's time to go through my final lineup for the season kickoff. Now, slight caveat to this, the deadline is actually 5:30 a.m. in New Zealand, obviously at different times around the world, and so although this may be the last video, there may be some final adjustments if any late information comes in tomorrow morning, as I'll be up watching some deadline streams and sometimes there's some late breaking news. But apart from that, these will be the lads that I head into game week 1 with. Now, a couple of late changes. Martial was in my squad right up until today, but he has done his hamstring and has a 25% chance of playing. As Martial does, he gets injured, and so I am basically forced into starting the season with Jesus, who I was trying to dodge for the first 2 games of the season. But I think we're just going to have to lock him in for the start of the season now, as I don't see any other strikers that'll probably keep pace with him. The reason I didn't want to start with Jesus is that Crystal Palace game first up is a little bit tricky. And if Arsenal do not do the business with such a high percentage of managers owning Jesus, I do suspect that he will get dropped and his price will fall probably on day one. I'd say whenever Arsenal play, if that's the result, you'll probably see mass sales very quickly and his price will fall. The other late change to my squad is Ward in net for Leicester. Schmeichel is looking like he's off, and so there are 2 4.0 million priced keepers at Leicester, of which one will be the number 1 starting the season. Brendan Rodgers has said that Ward is their number 1 choice. However, managers do sometimes tell fibs to put off their managers that they're coming up against, and so that they maybe plan for one player and end up playing another. But all things considered, I think we'll probably see Ward start against Brentford. And my other keeper, I'm still sticking with my 4.5 Raya. However, considering Brentford do play Leicester in game week 1, I am actually going to go for the home side here with Leicester and starting Ward over Raya. Leicester have looked pretty good in their last pre-season match. They had a pretty solid formation. And with Brentford having lost Eriksen in the transfer window and not really finding any replacement of similar quality as Eriksen, I think they'll probably find it a little bit tricky to break down Leicester and score. And so we are starting with Ward in net, who hopefully starts the game. He may be on the bench for Iverson, the other new signing, in which case Ward is very unlikely to make it onto the pitch, and so Raya will just auto sub in for me if that is what happens. Across the back line, we've got obviously Trent. He's not going anywhere. I've stuck with Cancelo. He was an initial lock into my team and has gone nowhere. We're putting James in as well, as it looks like Chelsea are shoring up their defence. They've gone after Cucurella, and it looks like that's a pretty much done deal. Hopefully James is at right wing back for most of the season. I suspect he will start there, but there is a slight potential that he may play right centre back as the season progresses, depending on what happens in the final weeks of the actual transfer window. So just something to keep an eye on there, but should be locked in and nailed for game week 1. My 5 million option is going to be Zinchenko from Arsenal. A lot of players out there are looking at starting with Ramsdale as a keeper, and so Zinchenko does cover the clean sheets of Ramsdale with more attacking threat than Ramsdale moving forward for Arsenal's amazing fixtures. There's also a slight chance that Zinchenko does get to play in the middle of the park, so a defender actually playing in midfield, which should equal, doesn't always, but it should equal some pretty solid potential points for Zinchenko. My 5th backup defender, who is my only playing bench member, I'm going with Castagne from Leicester. There are a couple of 4.5 million options. This price point's actually a little bit limited this year. It's been one of the more selective price points in previous years. But I'm going with Castagne simply because I'm looking at rotation. And game week 3, we've got a pretty tricky fixture with Liverpool playing Man United, which, let's be honest, Liverpool should do okay there. But Wolves is also playing Tottenham in game week 3, and so for the likes of Neto, we'll keep an eye on how he's doing, but this away fixture to Tottenham, we may find Neto on my bench here and actually play 5 at the back with Castagne as they host Southampton. So it's very unlikely that he'll be getting onto the pitch until game week 3, and Leicester's run does start quite nicely from game week 6 forward if you haven't pulled the wild card by then. In the middle of the park, we've got Salah, best player in the game. He's going to be my captain, standout captain option for game week 1. The second top captain option by the points prediction modelling software systems out there is Kane. Some systems even have Kane higher than Salah, which I find weird, but hey, who knows. I'd say Salah to a promoted Fulham. Salah loves scoring against promoted sides, so he is by far a short lock in my team. The final Liverpool spot is going to Luis Diaz at the 8 million price bracket. I just see them playing some promoted sides. I want more attack out of Liverpool than necessarily banking on clean sheets with the potential of some attacking options in Robertson, but definitely Robertson is an outstanding pick. So I would not advise anyone to go against Robertson. It's just in a 4-5-1 formation, I find I can eke out hopefully some more high ceilings with filling up my midfield. I've got De Bruyne in there as vice captain. He is there for the Bournemouth game in game week 2. I've also gone with the slightly more expensive De Bruyne over Haaland up front for the assurity of minutes, but also because he looks to be playing slightly more advanced in that Community Shield match, and if he's a little bit closer to goal, I mean, De Bruyne can score points from wherever he plays on the park, but if he is just stationed higher up the pitch as a default, we should hopefully see some more points out of him. And I am banking on the Ginger God to cover Kane and Haaland in the first few game weeks. So that's my coverage there. Obviously, Kane and Son from Tottenham, they go away to Chelsea game week 2, so I am dodging that fixture, and that's why I'm starting with De Bruyne first. Martinelli as my 4th spot in midfield, 6.0 mil price point. He is severely underpriced in my eyes, and so for 2 million less than Saka, even though Saka's probably on penalties, Martinelli may earn a penalty and take it himself, who knows, but Martinelli for 6 mil, an attacking player in an attacking Arsenal outfit with great fixtures to start with, is a lock in my team. We then go to the 5th midfield spot in the 5.5 price point in Neto. The alternative there is Podence, who looks like he will be playing up front in place of Jimenez while he is injured. However, I do not know how long that will be for and how long Podence will secure down that spot, and so I am just going for the more assured minutes of Neto, who is also playing very advanced up the pitch. And as I've already mentioned, my solo striker being Jesus, with the backups on the bench being 2 4.5 non-playing strikers, which is an aggressive tactic, an aggressive style of play. It does mean if Jesus for some reason gets injured, I will have no one coming off the bench for me, because you have to play with one striker. Castagne cannot come in and play for Jesus if for some reason he doesn't play, because you cannot play a 5-5-0 formation. So I've gone with Archer as the 4.5 mil striker option, who could get onto the pitch and potentially nab a goal or a jammy assist. And he is less owned by the other 4.5 million option in Greenwood, who is the other most likely striker in the same price point who might get on the pitch to play. Archer has Bournemouth, Everton, Crystal Palace, and he could come on for the last 10-15 minutes in any of those matches potentially. He's been doing quite well in pre-season, and with the 5 sub rule, he may sneak in off my bench if I have to go too deep into my bench, or my solo striker does not play. And my final dead spot being Plange. He is in there because, again, he is lowly owned only by 1.8% of players, so he's not going to lose value too quickly, and he's just not going to play. He's just basically a dead spot on the bench. So that's my team. Trying to keep it short and sweet for this one. I will be online on Twitter and whatnot tomorrow morning, early doors in New Zealand. I'll be up at about 4 a.m. I think to catch some of the deadline streams to see if there's any late breaking news. Hopefully not, because I don't really want to scramble a decision last minute, but given the aggressive style of formation that I'm going with, I don't have much depth on the bench, and so I have to be very careful if any of these players are looking a little bit less assured of minutes. And so if any of you out there are going with an aggressive approach and killing 2 spots on your bench to try and maximize the value on the pitch, do note that you will have to be quite up to date with any late breaking changes, because, well, we have no bench. And the only reason I'm doing that this year is simply because of the World Cup wildcard that happens mid-season, forcing an early wildcard on us, which means we can go with a slightly more aggressive outlook at the start. Some managers are even planning in a wildcard for game week 2 or 3. Crazy, but you know, the markets move so quickly at the start of the game. I can see some very potential benefits from such an early wildcard. If you smash game week 1 and 2, maybe with a 3-mium attack, and then wildcard out of it into a more stable side for the remaining first half of the season, you'll probably catch most of the price rises and be more perfectly placed to jump on those players that look like they're going up in value quickly and could be going under the radar. And so there is definitely some viable options there. However, I do want to leave that wildcard as late as possible for myself, and so my aggressive play is killing the bench rather than an early wildcard. So, with all that being said, for all of you out there, good luck. Don't forget, it is a long season. If your players get injured in the warm-up, there's literally nothing you can do about it. You just have to take those things on the chin. Don't worry about it too much. Try to aim for about 60 points per week, but really all you need to do is be above the average each week. If you stay above the average each game week, you're going to end up with a pretty good result at the end of the season. With that being said, if you made it this far through the video, please do give this a like and do subscribe to see more content coming your way soon. And until next time, I'll catch you around shortly. Cheers.